this is far in a way on a completely different scale from things that have happened in the past. Our previous fundraising highs have also been like, it's a combination of right place and right time and preparing for right place and right time, like knowing that you're always going to have basic optimization things in place, not just in terms of like being ready to turn on Facebook ads, but having your website optimized, or like kind of all like the things that you need to do to like be ready that if that right place to be in the right place at the right time. Like our previous, for a long time, our previous like best donation day ever was when DACA was repealed in 2017, and we had done a big action at Trump Tower that day. And so we were included in a lot of the coverage as a really high profile protest. And we had enough ready from our Facebook and our website that even though really there had been no donation strategy, that we were able to get a lot from that. So I think from then we've always had that like as a thing that we think about. I think another just specifically on the ad side, I think really thinking about the three key audiences that we targeted in terms of retargeting our email list, retargeting web and donation page viewers, and using this lookalike audience as three audiences that, yes, in this moment, but I think overall are kind of strategic for what we're doing to focus on. I think that's something that was maybe like a suspicion or advice that we'd heard before, but now we feel very confirmed. And so even if the scale of that changes in the future, where we're not having anywhere near as high a budget on those audiences, that I think that is a big learning, that those would be the audiences that we focus on, not necessarily playing around with other targeting. That is definitely something successful. And then just a final thing from this conversation that we've had around how how our funds came to be and the hurdles that there were around like ideology from our organizations, but then how I think executing that in the right way then has payoff. I think there is something that in the past where sometimes fundraising has felt at odds with the things that we're trying to do, the things that we're trying to focus on, the way that we like to talk about our work and our organization. It always feels like there's a trade-off. I think for us, at least, there really was a benefit of putting so much time into having the fund meet the needs of the community, really represent in its implementation, in its like protocols, like our principles as an organization, and then be able to be used as a tool in our larger organizing and the larger narrative intervention we're trying to do right now about the undocumented community, kind of both say that, this is not right now, this is a pattern, this is what the immigrant community has, this is the position the immigrant community has always been into, having to support itself while being excluded and exploited by state and local government. But then also now the fund as a vehicle for us saying that we're putting into practice, trying to meet some people's needs right now while also calling that out. Mm-hmm. So I think having it be such a manifestation of those values and strategies was really important, and has allowed it to also then succeed kind of internally, externally, smoothed over some hurdles there.
Yeah. That's very cool. And then actually the last part of what you were saying there, I think really vibed with me in terms of, so, something that we've been doing, and I got the language from this from a group called NACASEC, which organizes the AAPI community. They have chapters all over, but they're based in Chicago. But we were working with them, and she told me, I've been thinking about this concept. We've been working on this concept for a long time, but she told me they actually, all of their development team, they call them resource organizers, and they frame them as part of their organizing team. And I was like, I'm in love with that, actually. That's my favorite thing I've ever heard. And that kind of gave language to this idea that we've been pushing for a long time within our development shop, which is about seeing our individual giving folks more as donor organizers, right? And trying to mirror the philosophy that exists within our organizing team inside of our donor operations, and not have them be at odds, as you were saying, not have that be this kind of thing. And I think that this crisis, it was so tempting to lean into the, oh, look at these poor people kind of messaging, right? Which is just like the most kind of, paternalistic, like, you know, throw some money at the problem and aren't we all good people kind of outlook, right? But because we knew we could make money that way, right? We knew that we could turn around and say, you know, let's push out these images, let's push out these stories, like this, whatever. But specifically making sure that our message was about solidarity, right? And that if you're giving money, it's because that's your way of standing with somebody, right? And that you are, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and sisters in this community. And really reframing that, and where that gets into like kind of the donor space and the metric space is thinking about, so we had this really interesting other experience in 2018. It was fiscal year 18. I don't know if it was in 17 or 18, but when the word about family separation and detention centers first started to get out, we got mentioned on a couple big pieces of media, including the Pod Save America podcast and their newsletter, which was like very popular, and they mentioned us as a place where people could donate to, you know, to fight against this family separation. And looking back at the numbers, our donors spiked. We had like 5,000 new donors. Typically in a given year, we have about 1,000 unique donors to 1,200. We had about 6,500 that year. Typically in a given year, our donor retention is between 42 and 51% over the last like 6 years. Our retention that year was 2%. All those people, they came on and they gave and they went away. And the reason why is because we put ourselves as fundraisers, and we focused our communications on fundraising and not on organizing people and bringing them into the movement, right? And so we have been so deliberate now, not only about the way we shape our communications, but also about those follow-up emails when people first get them. Thank you so much for supporting our community during this crisis. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing at CASA and why this really matters. And like, here's how you can get involved. And then following it up with additional asks, and those asks were all non-monetary, right? Share this video, participate in this drive-by action, and you know, push out the fund to your friends and family. Are you willing to share your story of donating your stimulus check? We looked out for all the people that had $1,200 donations and followed up with them on the phone. Can you give us a quote and a photo? And not, in that case, putting ourselves as fundraisers that were looking for the dollar, but as donor organizers that were looking to bring in allies for life into the movement, and that this was a way in. And I think we've been way more successful. Time's obviously going to tell, but we've set a goal for ourselves to hold on to 30% of these new donors for next year. Some of these people are just crisis donors and they're going to go away. I can't tell you how many, I'm sure you've had this too, how many angry emails we've already fielded from people that came into the organization because they donated to crisis stuff. And then like 3 days later, we push out a story about suing the Trump administration. And people are like, this isn't what my dollars are for. And it's like, well, I mean, that is what your dollars are for. But, you know, so I just think that stance towards the work that we're doing, and then how you manifest that within your advertising, within your follow-up, within your email list, within all the stuff you're doing, makes such a difference in a crisis like this, where you have to meet people where they are and then bring them into the movement rather than focus on getting their dollars in now.
Yeah.